Can Nick Ladolo redeem himself after a horrid first half? Can Royce Lewis be a league winner if he finally stay healthy? Join us today as we provide you with the best mustache players heading into Week 19 on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, my best friend, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify, and that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. Helps the podcast grow, helps us get to where we are now. Helps us grow even further in the future. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below and subscribe to the channel. Also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, subscribe to us on the Subtext website. Through Subtext, it's a one-on-one, in-depth, personalized experience through text messaging. You get instant alerts right to your phone with prospect call-ups. Going to need those for September, injury updates, and just a lot more than we could offer in this 30-minute podcast. And Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. As always, let us be your team secret weapon as we provide you with the best players to stash for Week 19. And Matt, we got one of your favorite boys up first, so lead the way, my brother.
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. We all know what's going on in the news right now with Mr. Wander Franco. So we're going to need a replacement. And, we're going to talk about Mr. Royce Lewis here. Somebody we've talked about quite a bit on the show. He was always a stash. When he's going to get the call up when he was coming back. Fortunately, went down with an injury. You know how I feel about that. It's just really upsetting. But it seems like he's getting his rehab assignment for Tuesday, which is today when you're listening. He'll probably get like 2 or 3 at bats. Probably, if I had to take a guess, he'll be back this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. The oblique strain sucks, but I just, when you get one of those, you just chalk it up. All right, that's 6 weeks. It is what it is. But we're at the end of the timeline here. Royce Lewis, I'm thinking is going to be back by the weekend, so you need to scoop him up now. My guy is 28% owned right now. If you don't add him today when you're listening, you're going to miss out on a special talent. Royce Lewis, the two times he's been called up and come back from injury, funny enough. The guy hasn't hit under 300 yet. Funny enough, I don't know if you know that, Dom. Last year he hit 300 in his a little short stint before he unfortunately tore his ACL. And then this year for the oblique, 300 batting 326. Royce Lewis is like the perfect candidate to just finish out the rest of the season and be an absolute stud going into the playoffs. You could be even waiting around for O'Neal Cruz to come back, and that's still probably a month away. So Royce Lewis is somebody you want to add. The upside is stolen bases, which he really actually hasn't shown this year, but he has had high stolen base years. In 2018, he had 28, 2019, 22. 2022, he had 12, but that was limited because he got the call up and then got hurt. Royce Lewis has bag potential. He has home run potential, obviously average. And the way the Twins are rocking and rolling right now, they're leading their division. The sky's the limit for Royce Lewis. I think he's a must-add pause the podcast moment. I think we're talking about probably my number one guy on this whole list. So I'm truthfully saying go out and scoop Royce Lewis.
Hey, Matt, great take on Royce Lewis. I honestly really don't have anything else to add besides I agree with you. Royce Lewis, one of the most talented young players in baseball. Hopefully he can stay healthy and not only help the Twins, but help our fantasy baseball teams as well. Let's move on to his teammate, though. Let's talk about Alex Kiriloff. Alex Kiriloff, dealing with that shoulder issue. He's got a cortisone shot in the shoulder. Not really too much else, on that. He's eligible for activation Wednesday, but, it's going to take him a little bit more time to make that full recovery. I assume maybe 2 weeks or so. And Alex Kiriloff, like his teammate Royce Lewis, was actually doing pretty good in the majors this year before he got hurt. He had played 69 games, 226 at-bats, 24 runs, 13 doubles, 8 homers, 32 RBIs, and a 270 batting average for Kiriloff. He's still 25 years old. And if they get Kiriloff, if the Twins get Kiriloff and Royce Lewis back, I mean, watch out. That team's been a little bit better than expected this year. You know, you pair him with Julian. Hopefully Polanco and Correa could add something to the table, and maybe Joey Gallo can hit a few home runs, and they'll be better off. And, Joe Ryan comes back to team up with Lopez, Gray, and Ober and Maeda in that rotation. I think they have a lot of upside.
Yeah, no, that team has some great playoff possibilities just for them alone. It's going to be interesting. And for your fantasy teams, Kiriloff, I doubt Correa is going to do anything. I'm just throwing shade, but I doubt he's going to do anything. He sucks. He's washed. But, it is what it is. But let's move on.
But real quick, Kiriloff is 17% owned. I forgot to throw that out there.
Thank you, Dom. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Mr. Rizzo. He's somebody that we normally wouldn't talk about at 64% owned, but quite honestly, Rizzo getting the concussion, he should be back probably within the next week or so. I think could be a real plus to your, fantasy lineup heading into the playoffs. My guy, if he could just figure it out and turn it on, we could see a resurgence of what he did last year with that power. And I think it's there. I think it's real. Rizzo just got to figure it out. I think the way the Yankees just have been, it's just a little deflating. I mean, to be honest, I think almost every player on that team needs a walker, needs to stop going near Adalberto Mondesi. It's just bad, man. It's like so bad. I feel like this is the Beltran years, back in 2014, 2015, with Jacoby Ellsbury. It's just ugly. But Rizzo, sorry, Yankee fan moment. But Rizzo, I think, could have a lot of fantasy value for your team. And if you could turn it around, like I said, that power can be there.
Yeah, the thing with Rizzo is after that collision a few months back with Fernando Tatis at first base, they kind of bumped each other, and Rizzo was never the same after that. He started off the year the first couple of months. I can actually tell you exactly what he had the first couple of months. I just know he was on fire. He was hitting over 300. He was looking like really like a resurgence here, like vintage Anthony Rizzo. And so that collision, kind of just really like threw him off. April and March, 28 games for Rizzo, 103 at-bats, 13 runs, 5 doubles, 5 homers, 13 RBIs. He was hitting 282. And then even better in May, 25 games, 101 at-bats, 17 runs, 3 doubles, 6 homers, 19 RBIs, hit with 327. And then, in June, 22 games, 173, no homers. July, 23 games, 167 batting average, 1 homer, and he just was never the same guy. I think finally, he came out and said, hey, I'm not feeling like myself. I think he said he was having problems sleeping and stuff. They gave him the concussion test, came back, hey, you had a concussion at some point. So they threw him on the IL. They're giving him the proper recovery time. He's not trying to play through it. I think there's really a lot of upside here with Rizzo, as Matt was saying, as I was saying, look at those stats at the beginning of the year. So Anthony Rizzo, Matt said 64% owned, but, go out and add him if you can. Let's keep things pushing, though. And before we move on and we talk about one of Matt's favorite guys in the whole world, the Boston Red Sox, we got a lot of good pitchers here. We have a Reds pitcher, we have a Guardians pitcher, and we have a Braves pitcher who all can, are coming back fairly soon. Maybe one of the three isn't, but definitely names you want to look out for. We just got to talk to you about one of our ad partners real quick, and it's Ibotta. It's officially summer, and a new season means new clothes. But your clothes shouldn't be the only thing growing when you make those purchases. Now, you can also watch your cash back grow with each purchase with Ibotta. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user earns $120 a year. That could cover the entire cost of a shopping trip, or you can use the cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you're dying to go get, or even that fancy dinner you've been craving. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code MLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use the code MLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use the code MLB when you sign up. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing our Diamonds Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. Get your hands on waiver wire rankings, call-up alerts, injury updates, instant reactions, and enjoy direct access to us for all of your burning fantasy baseball questions. Plus, you can try it out completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I, and we can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join our Diamonds Club on the Subtext website today, and let's take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. And guys, I've been saying it. I will continue to say it. If you're already in the Diamonds Club on Subtext, or if you sign up for the Diamond Club on Subtext between now and September 1st, you get a chance to join our listener league for next year, guys. Come play with the pros. Come show us what you're made out of. You can come beat up on Matt and I if you think you got what it takes. So, come and join us on Subtext today. But all right, Matt, let's keep things moving here. And I saved them just for you, your best friend, your favorite player in the whole league. Let's talk about him, Adalberto Mondesi.
Oh, my God. I might get hurt just talking about him, honestly. It's so bad, bro. Now, let me be serious here, okay? Like, I just make fun of the dude because he's constantly hurt. But, it also is out of, frustration, too, because I actually think he's super talented. It's really easy to just, say, hey, he comes with a pair of crutches, or he has a hospital wing named after him. But, it is what it is. I'm sure you all are probably tired of all my Adalberto Mondesi jokes. But all serious, though, the kid really does have all the talent in the world. Just look at, let's see here. Man, he's been in the league this long. He's just been, it just really gets me upset.
And he's still only 28. That's the craziest part.
27.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He is 27. Looking at his baseball reference page. But, it's crazy, though. His one, best season, right, in 2019, 415 at-bats, right? 58 runs, 20 doubles, 10 triples, 9 home runs, 62 RBIs, 43 stolen bases. Batted .263, which actually isn't bad. And then, the next year in 2020, obviously the COVID year, we really expected a lot from him. He didn't disappoint, though, in the 219 at-bats with 33 runs, 11 doubles, 3 triples, 6 bombs, 22 ribs, 24 stolen bases, and he had 256 batting average. It isn't bad. And then 2021, 2022, we all know the story where Adalberto Mondesi literally, his hospital bills were covered, the whole hospital's overhead. So he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. I think, honestly, if this dude just managed to put a whole season together, the sky's the limit. I think the power actually might even be real. Quite honestly, he's had in the minors, a 14 home run, 15 home run seasons and 291 at bats and 357 at bats. You extrapolate that over 600 to 585 at bats, right? He could be a high 20 home run guy, anywhere from 25 to 28 home runs, along with a 60 stolen base season, batting about 260. Those are solid numbers. That's a top 30, 40 dude.
It's a first-time player, bro.
Right.
if he can never really do it.
Right. So he has all the upside in the world. So as much as I poo-poo all over this dude, I do think that quite honestly, he should be stashed everywhere at this point, because if he comes back and decides to stay healthy and last longer than oh my God, my phalanges in one game, or even that one little field, the sky's the limit, especially with Boston. Boston kind of needs a little jump. Story's back. Devers is just the only one there. It would be a great addition to the team. So quite honestly, Adalberto Mondesi, you need to stash now.
Man, it's so funny because you remind me of when, little kids are fifth grade, fourth, fifth grade. And, you could tell they have a crush on a girl. And then you'll ask them, and they'll be like, hey, do you have a crush on Victoria? And they'll be like, no, bro, she's so ugly. I don't like her. That's you with Adalberto Mondesi. It's you low-key got a little man crush on the guy. I know you like to talk smack, but that was a nice little rant. I'm just going to add, Mondesi is 15% rostered on Yahoo. He was spotted taking grounders, hitting and running the bases recently. So I think he's going to go out on a rehab assignment soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, with Mondesi there. It's just been, crazy. He's recovering from, the ACL surgery. He's really done nothing all year. I think if he can get him back, as Matt said, I think the real upside is with steals and maybe runs if he could hit near, the top of that Boston lineup, which isn't, it's a little better than you would think it's been on the year. So we'll see where things go with Mondesi. He could definitely, give you a boost in those few categories. 15% owned, keep your eyes out for him. Let's move on to our last bat before we get into arms. Let's talk about Zach Neto. Zach Neto was somebody that came up, had a lot of prospect hype around him. He started off pretty meh, but then he got really, really red hot. I was looking at the stats earlier. He had like a 16 game run where he hit like 288. He had a couple of homers. He had some good run total. I think he had like 15 runs in the 16 games that I had isolated before he got the injury and he went down. So I would give Neto the chance. He's probably going to miss, a couple of more weeks, it looks like, at minimum here. So this is kind of like if you're in a deeper league, Neto is only 4% owned. If you have unlimited IL spots and you kind of just, want to throw a dart and see where things land. I really do like Neto. I think he's a solid player. So, you should really give the kid a chance. I'll just read off to you what he kind of did in the minors to get that call. It was really only 7 games, but through those 7 games in the minors this year, he had 10 runs, 12 hits overall, a double, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, 3 steals, hit 444. Year before that, he had 299 in 37 games, 5 homers, 5 steals, 27 RBIs, and 24 runs. So, there's a lot of things to like about the kid Neto. I think you give him a chance if you're in one of those deeper leagues or you have like a lot of different IL spots that you could, throw somebody on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like Neto. It's weird. I like what he started off to do in the season. Like, even though like it hasn't been the most prettiest with the batting average and whatnot, but I mean, it's nice to see a guy put up stats, like the counting stats alone. So like Neto does have the upside, like you were saying. So it's definitely worth a stash at 4% owned. Like, why not?
Yeah, deep leagues.
Yeah, it's a speculative ad. NFBC, like he may not even be dropped in an NFBC. Like, we'll see. But like, he's definitely worth something out there. But let's move on. Let's talk about one of my favorite pitchers that just completely disappointed me. It's another one. That's Mr. Nick Lodolo. Ladolo was, primed to come out and be the guy. And unfortunately, he was not. He was dealing with a calf injury, which may or may not, have played into his horrendous season. But it was short-lived with only 34 innings pitched. So maybe like 6 or 7 starts. Like, it really.
I can tell you exactly how many 7 starts. He hit the nail on the head.
So like, it really wasn't great with a 6.29 ERA over that time. Only 47 Ks to 34 strikeouts. That 34 innings pitched to 47 Ks. That was the only positive note. The WHIP was a 1.75, 2 wins. Like Ladolo just, I think, feel like he got hit with the sophomore slump. Like, and it wasn't even like he got hit with the sophomore slump. It's like Little Nicky when they hit him with the ugly shuffle. Like, it was bad. Like, it's bad. Sorry, I just aged myself for probably one of my favorite Adam Sandler.
That's a great movie. If you guys never seen that, that's one of Adam Sandler's earlier movies. That's a good one. Go check it out.
Yeah, talking to all you Gen Z guys that probably haven't seen this, but it's a great movie. But Nick Lodolo, honestly, like, I think can come out and kind of like get a resurgence. Give us a little hope for next year, and we'll see what it takes. I mean, it may not be pretty to start. Like, I don't know if I'm running out there and I'm just going to add him and stashing him, but like, quite honestly, like, out of all the names that we're going to talk about, he's the second to last. He's number 4 in my opinion out of all these pitchers. But Ladolo is somebody that I'm definitely considering really hard.
Yeah, man, I don't blame you. We do have some other good names here, but I think he's going to return the soonest out of everybody that we're talking about. Nick Ladolo already had his first rehab start. He looked really good, actually. Pitched 2 innings, only gave up 1 hit, no walks. He had 4 strikeouts. So he's off to, a good start here. Obviously, he has to build up. I'd say, next time if he goes 3-4 innings, time after that, if he goes, 5 and he looks good, we could see him back in about 2 to 3 weeks is my guess here. A lot of these other guys we're talking about are a little bit, deeper of a stash. So I think you go out and you add Lodolo now, 48% owned on Yahoo. Throw him on your IL. It definitely, as Matt mentioned, he did have a really good year last year. He had a 3.66 ERA, 19 starts, 103 innings, 131 strikeouts. Whip was a little high at a 1.24. It's something as guys, get into the bigs and they start to adjust more, it starts to look better over time. But Nick Lodolo, definitely worth an add. But guys, real quick before we finish up and we talk about Braves pitcher, a Dodgers pitchers, and Mr. Woo. We got a little ad to throw out there first.
Yes, sir. I got this one. We're going to talk about FanDuel. Football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving away a chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on the Super Bowl winners, you get a bonus bet every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team you to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get a bonus bet for every victory this season. You can bet on spreads, player props, over and unders, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. I love FanDuel. I literally play there all the time. I'm more of a college bet guy, so like you'll see me bet on Penn State and just try to bet on when Ohio State's going to officially lose. I think this is going to be the down year, so I'll be betting all day on them for losing. So we shall see. But quite honestly, download FanDuel now. FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right. Yeah. Dom, take it away, sir.
Yeah, so let's talk about this next guy. Let's talk about Triston McKenzie. He's probably the furthest away from returning out of everybody here. But I think the upside with McKenzie might be the second best out of everybody that we're going to talk about today. McKenzie's played catch 5 days in a row, and, he hasn't had any setbacks, which is great. The Guardians are not ruling him out, for the rest of the way, but he still might be like a month out. So you're talking about like your second round of your playoffs, or if you play in a league with a manager that likes to play till the end or commissioner that likes to play till the end of the year, maybe the first round of the playoffs if you're lucky. Or if you even just play in a regular, straight up roto league with no head-to-head matchups and you guys just play whoever has the best stats at the, traditional roto is what I like to call it. You might get 3 starts out of him maybe. And I just like to point out what Glasnow did last year when he came back. He had like 2 or 3 really good starts at the end of the year, which, I know helped propel me to, a couple of fantasy baseball championships, which was awesome. So a guy like McKenzie can definitely do that for you. McKenzie was having, a pretty solid year before he went down with the injury. He actually didn't really pitch as much as I thought. He only had 2 starts, 4.50 ERA, 10 innings, 15 strikeouts. 1.20 whip, but he did have a 2.77 FIP, so it kind of showed a guy that he could be. But let's talk about McKenzie last year as a 24-year-old breakout year, 30 starts, 191 innings, 190 Ks, and an 0.95 whip. He's always been a control guy, very, very good control for McKenzie, and just the upside for the 25-year-old McKenzie's through the roof. And I'll tell you this, he's only owned in 60% of leagues. So I guarantee there's some dynasty or keeper leagues where, he might have just got dropped by accident or guys just didn't want to deal with him. I just say check your waiver wire. Check your waiver wire in those leagues. Make sure he's owned, because going into next year, that's a guy that, could definitely have a big impact.
I actually feel the exact opposite for next year for him.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
And here's the thing, though. I love McKenzie. You know this, but here's the thing. Sprained UCL, right? What does that tell you? You're not too far off from Tommy John's. That's really what it's telling me. So he's already been hurt and dealing with, a major strain, which is a shoulder. Now he's moving down to his elbow. I don't think his wrist is going to give out on him. That would be pretty funny, though, because then it'd just be a whole arm breakdown. But I think, honestly, when I start hearing UCL, that's the tendon that I really get scared about, especially a guy that throws sliders a lot, and that's one of McKenzie's favorite pitches. So I'm going to say that is something that's a strong possibility for him since he is, could hurt himself next year. So quite honestly, in keeper leagues, I would be moving him now because, even if he gets a couple weeks and you're not in a position to what do you call it? Go ahead and be in the playoffs or the championship, trade him away for a lot to that championship team, bring in a haul, let them do it and put that landmine on their team for next year. I think Triston McKenzie for the playoffs this year may be good because what he did in that short two starts that he had was absolutely lights out. Like McKenzie is awesome, but I think next year there's a lot more stuff that's going to be involved that scares me with Triston McKenzie. But anyway, I'm going to move on. I think we talked about him enough.
Yeah, no, Matt, that is a great point. You're 100% right. That is a very, very solid point. Look at a guy like Andrew Painter,
Exactly. And they opted to go get him TJ after this UCL sprain. Yeah. So right now he hasn't had any setbacks. And this also worked for for Tanaka. Tanaka joined the Yankees. They avoided doing TJ, and then boom, he was able to pitch about 4 years before anything had to happen. So like it is what it is. But let me move on because I way too much on Triston McKenzie. Let's talk about Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright, we all know what he did last year. He had a great season. He racked in about what? Like, I believe I'm still getting his page up, but I believe
21 wins.
20. Yeah, I was going to say 17 to 21 wins. He had a monster season. 21 wins, 174 strikeouts, and 180 innings pitched, a 3.19 ERA with a 1.16 WHIP. Phenomenal season. Lights out. Like, great. This year, you started off the year hurt. I never want to see somebody come into the pitcher specifically come into the season with a shoulder injury. Look at Nestor, look at Kyle Wright. They just haven't been great. I should have known better. Still drafted Kyle Wright everywhere because I figured, it'll be fine. I'm learning my lesson. You live and you learn. Kyle Wright this year, I think now that he's so far removed and they're not rushing him back like they did in the beginning of the season, especially with all their injuries, because I don't think they expected Fried to go down alongside with him. I feel like he needed another month to get going. So I think Kyle Wright right now is actually going to return to a better position. He should be back. What I'm seeing here, he should be facing live batters soon. Which then once that happens, boom, it's going to be lightning fast because it's funny enough, the Braves have barely been 500 since the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. Their pitching has not been scary. Elder has been caca-doodle.
They've had, I think it's a top 5 ERA since the post All-Star break.
Right. So it's just atrocious what's going on. So they do need the influx of pitching. So they are looking to get Kyle Wright back out there. And he is making the right progressions this time. He isn't being rushed back, which is great. And this is great for fantasy. Like, you need to go out and get Kyle Wright. He is my second favorite name outside of the guy we talk about for like the last 6 weeks now, who's coming up now. And I'm going to give it away to Dom, and then everything else will be all into place.
Yeah. Well, Matt, great take on Kyle Wright. He's 55% owned on Yahoo. Definitely a name that you want to throw out there and kind of just see where this thing goes. Throw him on your IL. Hopefully he gets back sooner than later. As Matt says, I'd probably predict like an early September, sort of comeback for Kyle Wright. So, get him on your team if you can. Let's talk about somebody that we've talked about a bunch lately, and I don't know why he's still so lowly owned. It's Walker Buehler. We kind of saved him for the end here because, we've talked about him a lot of late. But 53% owned still for Buehler. I think there's a lot of room to go. They officially came out, and Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, officially came out. He said, Walker Buehler's coming back as a starting pitcher. He said, don't have any doubt about it. He's definitely going to get out there, and he's going to be a starting pitcher. They might use him as like more of like an opener, though. So he might get like 3-4 innings his first couple of times out. It really just depends on, how Buehler looks. He's going to start again this week. Last week he only threw a 1-inning sim game. I think they're going to try and bump him up to 2-3 innings this time. He might be an early September, late August returner as well. But if you know who Walker Buehler is, the upside. The upside's a top 10 starting pitcher in all of baseball. He's just absolutely dominant. He's getting a little older at 29. I always forget that he's, been around for a little bit at this point in his career. But monster 2021 season, 16 wins, 4 losses, 2.47 ERA, 33 starts, 207 innings, 212 Ks, and an 0.96 WHIP. Buehler has a lot of upside. I think, honestly, should be up to like 70, 80% owned just to see where the thing goes. He pitches on one of the best teams in baseball, too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what? Here's the thing too. We were having a discussion on the YouTubes about why somebody felt that Walker Buehler shouldn't be added. He isn't a must add just based off of the fact that you don't know where he's going to be if he's going to be in relief mode. But like quite honestly,
they came out and said. Right. I was just saying they just came out and said he's going to start.
Right, and that's kind of like the nod right there that just really takes it home for me. It's like, like this kid is a must add in general because, I mean, shoot, you know what he could do if he gets at least 5 innings in. Now, 5 innings, that's not like my favorite thing to hear because, I mean, he's not going to qualify for, he's going to have a hard time qualifying for wins. He's probably not going to get you QSs, which isn't going to be great, but the strikeout numbers are going to be there. The ERA is going to be there. So, I mean, and the whip's going to be there. Like, he's going to be 3 category contributor right there, right off the bat. So, Walker Buehler is a must add no matter how you shake it, whether it's points, roto, head to head roto. Like, he needs to be added almost everywhere. Stash him now. But let's move on. Let's talk about this last guy here. Let's talk about Mr. Bryan Woo, boy. Bryan Woo, funny enough, like his last start was pretty nice. It was against the Angels, 6 innings, 3 ERA, 1 whip, but everything else has been pretty much like ugly, except for like maybe his earlier starts where he went out against Houston, had a nice game. San Francisco had a nice game. Washington, of course, Yankees without Judge, but then the White Sox one where he went out and had 9 Ks. Now, Woo, I like him, but we're also reaching a career high in terms of innings too. So I know they're saying they're going to put him back in the rotation, but I think he's going to be a once-a-week starter. And if they're feeling confident and somebody else is ready to go, I think they might skip him in the rotation and give him more of a break to save him for the playoff push because they're only about 1.5 games out behind for a wild card right now. So Seattle is trying to get in there, so they might want to save him for the playoffs. Like, I'm definitely storing Woo and I'm stashing him, but Woo himself, I feel, has a lot of fantasy upside for you going into the playoffs. So let's see what happens with Bryan Woo. But I am thinking about stashing him, but he's my 5th guy out of all these pitchers, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing with Woo is he did have a couple of, blow-up starts here of late. But, through 11 starts on the season, he's really only had, 3 starts where he gave up more than 4 runs or more. So, that's 8 starts where he's, gave up 3 runs or less. So, sometimes a couple of blow up starts when you've only started 11 games in the season will, make his numbers look a little bit worse than what they are. As Matt said, he's probably, out of all the pitchers we talked about today, he's probably number 4 for me. I might put him ahead of Mackenzie because the thing is Mackenzie's so far away from returning. But Bryan Woo, 18% owned on Yahoo, so you might not be able to get the Lodolo, the Mackenzie, or Wright, or Bueller in your league, but you might be able to get the Bryan Woo, who, does have a lot of upside. He's shown it throughout the season so far. But, guys, that's going to be all for us today. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you to our everydayers and to our new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And we will be back. We're talking about prospects that could get a cup of coffee in September and potentially help take your fantasy baseball team to that next level. But guys, until tomorrow, see you.
Peace.